Last year, the Roostertail Talk SNHL Division I crown came down to one heat and a clipped buoy. And in the end, Eddie Canfouche was successful in turning the U16 Cheerios into the U1. But hot on his heels and ready to reclaim his title is DJ Miller in the U75 DC Presents Death, while a crop of new talent led by D2 champion Carson Kelly look to shake up the D1 pecking order. Who will strike first on the fastest water in the South? It's time for the Southern Cup. Final heat action from Guntersville starts right now. Hello everyone, my name is Derek Kinsey Jr., the voice of Saturday Night Hydroplane League, welcoming you back for another exciting season. We're here in Guntersville, the fastest water in the South for round one, and we've got a lot of new to get to, but before we do that, we first have to thank our sponsors. Roostertail Talk is the presenting sponsor of the Roostertail Talk Presents Saturday Night Hydroplane League. Join host David Newton on a weekly tour through the fastest sport on the water as Newton sits down with some of the personalities that make this sport great. For more information and to listen to past episodes, head on over to roostertailtalk.com. 21 drivers checked in for the D2 Southern Cup in Guntersville, and over half that field was filled with rookies, many of whom had never turned a lap in SNHL competition. One of those rookies, J.F. Latour in the Joker, nearly took home the win in his maiden voyage, but a lane infraction penalty knocked him to 5th in the final running order. That left the win for Scott Witherall in the Castro GTX, who was fast all evening long. Witherall spent most of the offseason making and tuning setups and assisting many of our newcomers in preparing for the coming season, and it is great to see that hard work rewarded with victory. Congratulations to Scott and everyone on the Castro GTX team. We'll see the D2 in action October 23rd for the Diamond Cup at the virtual Miami Marine Stadium. There's a lot of new to go around in the 2021-2022 edition of SNHL. Other than new paint schemes, of course, we've got 5 newcomers to Division I. Carson Kelly, Cody Quill, Kim Burns, Luke Nelson, and TJ Swinski were all elevated from the inaugural Division II class to Division I after finishing top 5 in the point standings. The new version 7.0 also brought in new boat setups, physics, and even wind simulation to the game, which already proved to be a challenge. But the competitors have been chomping at the bit to get this new version into their hands since the off-season began, and the preliminaries have been fast and furious. But now it's time for the final. Who will be the first winner of the brand new game? Let's find out. 6 boats will be on the front line, 1 boat will be the trailer. 5 laps will be the distance in this championship battle for the first trophy of the season. It's time to hand out the Southern Cup. Officials, for the first time this season, let's turn them loose. And that is just an awesome shot of 7 unlimited hydroplanes leaving the dock, heading out onto this course. They've got a mile to go to get to the actual 2.5 mile race course. Let's see how they got here. Carson Kelly, the D2 champion, qualified 2nd, went 3rd, 1st, and 1st in his qualifying heats to get there on 1,105 points. And next is DJ Miller in DC Presents Death, last year's runner-up, qualified 4th, went 1st, 1st, and 3rd in the qualifying heats to get here on 1,085 points. Matt Johnson Design, qualified 5th, went 2nd, 1st, 2nd in the qualifying heats. That beautiful blue, black, and white boat. And next is Bo Rarick in Bucket List Racing's Fully Loaded, the U2 on 930 points. Qualified 8th, but went a perfect 2nd in the qualifying heats. Bo would like to go one spot higher here in the final. And Mickey Washburn in the Duff Beer is next, qualifying 3rd, went 1st, 3rd, and 3rd to get to the final on 1,075 points. And our defending champion, Eddie Canfouche, now with the U1 on the Cheerios, got here on 1,230 points. Qualified 7th, but finished all 3 of his qualifying heats in the 1st spot. That's great for his national high point standings. And Scott Przybylski will be the trailer. The game maker qualified 12th, won Heat 1A, won 6th and 5th in the following heats. He won the Connie. To get here, he will start 5 seconds behind the rest of the field. And now you get a helicopter view of this 2.5-mile race course. Boats are on the water, still moving at speed. They do not have to here in SNHL, as we do not have the 80-mile-per-hour rule. However, as we saw in the qualifying heats, a lot of drivers like to hit that 1-minute pin, which is that exit pin there at the left of your screen there at the exit of turn number 1, with a little bit of boat speed. That is new from what we saw previously, where drivers like to troll there at that entrance pin at the top of your picture of turn number 1 and just sit there till closer to 1 minute to go. But this year, and the new setups and the new philosophy on how to race the game, it's led to an increase of strategies, which makes the race a lot of excitement for folks like me and, of course, the racers as well. As we're getting close to 2 minutes to go to the start, there is Carson Kelly on the right side of your picture, that U42 Shenanigans, our D2 defending champion, as he cuts the course, would like to win here in D1 on his first time out. And this man, DJ Miller, would love that U1 number back on his spot, since it was a clipped buoy that cost him the championship in San Diego last year. He's going to be hot on the heels of Eddie Canfouche to try to get that championship back, as we're now under 40 seconds to the 1-minute gun. And Miller starting to slow down. Looks like he will decide to troll. And here comes his championship rival from last year, Eddie Canfouche. Eddie, still with a pretty good amount of boat speed, as he comes down the front stretch, is going to pass the U75 and enter into turn number 1. He's going to enter a little bit ahead of the U75, and there is the U42. He's going to try to hit this 1-minute pin with a whole lot of boat speed. He's going to go streaking around the outside as we're under 10 seconds. None of these racers are going to be in any danger of having a penalty for the 1 minute, as we see there. And now the fight for lanes begins, and Carson Kelly from the outside of lane number 4 immediately comes over towards lane number 1. He's got rooster tail advantage over all of these racers, so if he can get to the commitment buoy, he will have this lane number 1, as Eddie Canfouche is going to get forced out to the outside, nearly makes contact with the U75, but it's going to be Carson Kelly in lane number 1. Got great position for his first final here in D1. Matt Johnson, DJ Miller, Eddie Canfouche will be in lanes 2 through 4. Lanes number 5 and 6 are going to go to Bo Rarick and Mickey Washburn. Scott Przybylski, if he wants to win this race, well, starting 5 seconds behind the field, he's going to need a whole lot of help. As now the 15-second run to the start-finish buoy begins, and the boats are in great formation. We've got one boat there, Matt Johnson, who's going to be a little bit late as we're under 5 seconds. Who is going to get there on time? We get to the start-finish line buoy. Let's mark it off, and we begin the championship run as Mickey Washburn goes over, and Bo Rarick's going to go over as well. So we've lost our 2 outside runners before we even get to turn number 1. Meanwhile, Carson Kelly in lane number 1 is going to lead them around turn number 1 with the lead as they head down the backstretch for the first time. Matt Johnson did not get a good start at all. He is a distant 4th in lane number 2, and he might lose that lane as they got 2 jump start penalties for the U75. DC presents Deft and Miss Duff Beer. Doesn't really matter for Duff Beer, she's out, but for the U75, that's going to take second place away. And that's going to give that position to Eddie Canfuge, who gets shoved way outside as they head through turn number 2. We've got a leaving the course penalty for the U8 Pringles. That's not really going to matter much as the Pringles not in the picture as we end lap number 1 with Shenanigans leading the way. DC Presents Deft is not in second. The U1 is. Matt Johnson Design is third. The U75 not in contention for one of the high places here as Kelly doing what he did in Division 2, dominating the field, has a rooster tail advantage through turn number 1 and heads down the backstretch for the second time. Getting those sponsons out in the air. Got a good load of boat speed as the battle continues for second behind them. Kelly fluttering that wing, and oh, there's been a development. We've got a penalty lane infraction on the 42. We'll see where that was. That may have been at the start, but Carson Kelly just lost his chance at winning in his first race in Rooster Tail Talks Presents SNHL Division 1. That's going to be gut-wrenching. I don't know if the crew has told him yet, but what that has done is given the lead to this man, Eddie Canfuge, our defending champion in the U1 Cheerios. He is now leading the race as we begin lap number 3. So how the field sits, it's U1 in first, U10 in second, Matt Johnson Design. The Shenanigans, who is leading the field on the water, is in third. And the good thing for Carson Kelly is that we've had some retirements and we've had some not lane jumpers. Well, he was a lane jumper technically, but we also had some jumping the guns. That means that the Shenanigans is now in third instead of being further down the field as we ride along with the U1, who now finds himself, it was a battle for second place. It's now a Saturday night cruise for 400 points as long as he can keep those sponsons on the right side of the water, because the U10 is far behind, and the 42, well, he's going to need a rocket booster, jetpack, maybe a teleportation device to get around and unlap himself and then pass the U1 again to try to win the race as we begin those championship laps with the U1 leading the way. Matt Johnson is second and the Shenanigans is third. As he head into turn number 1 as U1 kind of jumped out of the water as he skids his way through turn number 1, having to deal with a lot of bad water from the U75 in front of him. Now that 75 is still trying to finish this race. He doesn't have to pull up, because if there's another issue, say Carson Kelly blows over, that could elevate the U75 up to a place. Now, while the U1 might understand that, the U1 is not going to be happy having this boat a lap down right to his inside and pushing him towards the outside as we go through the corners. The U1 kind of hooks a little bit but holds on to it as the Cheerios heads down the front stretch, having to deal with the dirty wake of the water next to him as we begin the final lap, 2.5 miles around for 400 points. All the Cheerios has to do is keep it on the water as he leads the way by over Rooster Tail, over Matt Johnson Design and the Shenanigans. As there is the Cheerios heading into turn number 1. He's got that bad water from the wake of the U75 in front of him, and the water was rough in 6.9. It's even worse here with the wind and, of course, the wake being produced by the U75 still as the U1 bounces its way down the back stretch. This boat last year, with the aid of a clipped buoy and some strong runs at the end of the year, ended up taking the championship from DJ Miller. But as we start the 2021-2022 season, it's going to be Fast Eddie Canfuge is going to stake his claim in his championship defense. Down the front stretch we go, heading towards the start-finish line buoy. Checkered flag is in the air, and the U1 Cheerios takes the win in the Southern Cup and 400 points. Matt Johnson Design is going to be second, and the Shenanigans, the U42 of Carson Kelly, is going to come home in third to complete the podium here at Guntersville, Alabama. And for the U1, it is vindication and a win in the fight for the championship. Here is your final results in the Southern Cup. As you see, DC Presents Deft ended up 4th. Mr. Pringles ended up 5th. Of our finishers, the U2 and the U9 failed to bring home their boats after really flipping just feet after the start-finish line. And there is the U1 bringing it home. Here are your national high point standings on the screen. That is your top 15. We're looking at these points all season long, and right now the Cheerios has a 280-point lead over Matt Johnson Design going into Miami in a couple weeks.
Eddie Canfouche, winner of the Southern Cup, with us now. Eddie, there was a lot of new coming into this season, new setups, new physics. How did it feel this evening?
Well, I had a really great day today, Daryl. I went perfect on all my heats. Qualifying left a little bit to be desired, but I was more concerned about making sure my setups were dialed in for the rough water on Lake Guntersville that, did end up showing its head in the first couple heats. And I was just preparing to run the race. It went very, very well.
Yep. And we're used to seeing chaotic final heats here in SNHL Division One. Another one this evening. Had a tight run there all 5 laps, though you were leading the race. Had a little bit of issues with the lap boat on the inside. How tough is that when you're leading the race, but still having to deal with dirty water for the final, which is 5 laps?
Well, you'll have lap boats out there. Sometimes people ahead of you will make some mistakes and end up with penalties, and you end up the leader, but you're behind people on the water, which was the case in the final today. And they don't have to be out of the way. And sometimes they'll be in the way. And, that makes it really tough because you got guys behind you trying to run you down. But I was just fortunate enough that I was able to hold off any attacks from anybody behind me and just stick close to the outside of the lap boats ahead of me.
Well, we're going into Miami next, the roughest water on the circuit from 6.9, 7.0 with the wind, with the setups. What are you expecting when we pull into Miami Marine Stadium?
Simple answer, chaos. Miami's a really, really tight course, and that rough water is even rougher when you have boats churning up that little tiny toilet bowl like man-made stadium. And it's going to be really hectic, but it should be a good night of racing for us.
Well, congratulations, Eddie. We'll see you in a couple of weeks in Miami.
Thank you very much.
And ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it for us here at Guntersville. Make sure you join us in a couple of weeks when the field rolls into Miami for Miami Marine Stadium for round 2 of the SNHL Division I Championship. Racing gets started at 8 o'clock. We will be on the air at UHL Facebook, or UHL Hydroplanes Facebook at 7:30 p.m. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., the voice of the Saturday Night Hydroplane League. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time.